Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Crime on the Record. My name is Jason. She, of course, is Candace, and we are going to talk about a different case today. Normally, we talk about missing persons and unsolved homicides on our podcast, but this is a story that's out of Hampton, Virginia. That I don't know. It's one of those where it's like, why? What are you thinking? Why are you doing this? And I know that you've been busy the last week or so, so I did all the research on this, and I'm going to tell you about the story while I tell everybody else that's listening.
I'm interested to hear it because I know nothing about this person.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's sad because of the story that it is. It's just another stereotypical child killer. It's just like there's just so many.
Yeah.
But this is one it's kind of happening now. His trial is set later, and we'll kind of talk about that a little bit. But like I said, it's out of Hampton, Virginia. His name is Cory Bigsby, and he doesn't have a very good track record of being a very good person at all, because he was arrested for something else before this happened, and then there's a whole bunch. So I'm just going to go ahead and go through this, and you just stop me when you hear something you want to talk about, babe.
Okay.
So like I said, it's a case out of Hampton, Virginia. So we're just going to go through the timeline first. So on December 13th of 2021, they find out that Cory Bigsby has left his children home for several hours at a time, multiple times.
Jeez.
And they also found out that on January 25th, 2022, this specific day, he left them home for 2 hours by themselves. Now, you got to understand, these kids are like 6 and 3.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, so it's not like you're leaving your 13-year-old at home
Wow.
or your 11-year-old at home for a couple hours and hoping
Yeah.
everything works out. No. So moving on in the timeline, on January 31st is when Cory reported Cody missing. Now, Cody is his 2-year-old son. And of course, he tells police that when he woke up, Cody was just gone. Because that's
Of
what
course.
toddlers do. They just, while you go to sleep, they just bounce. They're just gone. So
Right.
yeah. So, and he told police that the kid was last seen wearing black clothes and Spider-Man flip-flops. Now, I'm not the type of dad that when our kids were growing up, I didn't throw them in pajamas all the time. But I don't, like, maybe I would have, for a kid this young. So he's just wearing black clothes, like some little ninja running out there with Spider-Man flip-flops on. So this search, obviously, for Cody begins right then. A couple days later, February 2nd, surprise, surprise, Cory is named as the sole suspect, person of interest, if you will, in this case.
Where was mom?
I don't know. That's a really good question. I didn't do a whole lot of research on her, to be honest, because there's like a lot of other stuff going on, but it doesn't seem like she's in the picture.
Okay.
So, and then on February 3rd, Cory's arrested, but not for his son's disappearance. He is arrested for 7 counts of child neglect.
Jeez.
And this is when it comes back to he was leaving his kids home alone for hours at a time on multiple occasions. And when he was asked about that, Cory's response to police was, I left them at home because they were too much of a burden to take with me.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
Wow.
So you got 2 toddlers and you're like, fuck them. I'm not taking them anywhere. They're good at home.
I ain't got time for all this, the little burdens.
Right.
What?
Right. I mean, I don't know if there's ever a time that's okay to leave children under 6 alone, but it would have to be a really good reason. I could see maybe an emergency or something crazy happens and maybe you can't take them. I still can't figure out what that would be, but just, I didn't want to take them with me. They're just too difficult. See, I mean, nobody wants to take their 4 and 6-year-old,
Right?
2 and 4-year-old, or hell, they don't even want to take their 14 and 15-year-old sometimes.
Okay.
So it's like,
let me just stop you right there, though. You've changed the ages of these kids like 12 times.
no,
How
that's
old
fair.
are the kids? You were like, they're 3 and 6, then
That's
the
fair.
2-year-old, and now you're like, so 4-year-old.
Well, all I'm saying, I was just giving examples of children's ages.
Okay.
Now, to be fair, there's not a whole lot of stuff, and I'm looking. Yeah, so it was 4 and 6.
Okay.
So Cody was 4, and his older son is 6. I don't know their name. It didn't say. So
yeah, they
back up
usually
off
don't
me.
give names. That makes
So
sense.
yeah, you're that's fair. That's fair. He's 4, and his older brother 5 at the time. He's 6 now.
Gotcha.
So he goes in front of the judge, obviously for bond hearing, denied bond. Now, the judge was concerned about his past violent behavior, which makes sense, and the fact that he went AWOL when he was in the military.
Nobody nothing ever came of that. They're
no,
just
no, no.
like,
No,
he's out.
he was convicted for going AWOL.
Okay.
And you know, like, you gotta be a real coward to go AWOL in the military, regardless of where you're at, whether you're at home or you're overseas or whatever. I mean, it's like you signed a 4-year, sometimes 3-year contract in the military. Just do your time. I just don't understand why guys can't hack it. It's like, it's okay. Like, you don't have to be a hero. You can just do your time and not be a shitbag.
Right.
And I say that for those who may not be listening. I've got 7 years in the military and spent 2 years in Iraq, so I can say that. So on February 14th of 2022, police, they hold a press conference. And the reason they did is because the cops are like, look, we messed up. We understand that during a polygraph test, and we were talking to Cory with that, paraphrasing, by the way, he asked for an attorney a couple times and we didn't give him one.
Oh my, geez.
Now, it hasn't affected the case, but I do appreciate it. A police department that comes out and be like, look, we fucked up. That's our bad. That's on us.
Yeah. At least they did.
At least they're not like some, law enforcement agencies that are trying to hide stuff like that. They were at least, we did it. We straight up did it.
Yeah. At least they did. But how hard, that's day one stuff you learn, I would imagine. They ask for a lawyer, stop talking. I mean, that's couch detective stuff.
Right. And when we watch 48, the first 48 or something like that, and they say, do I need an attorney? And the cops keep talking. Even then I'm like, ooh, that's a gray area, bro. You might want to find out, do you want an attorney? Yes or no? Yes.
Yeah, because every single time you're like, stop talking.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, that's both for the police and the suspect. I'm always like, shut up, stop talking. But so they came out and said, hey, we messed up. Bond is denied on April 5th again. And then on April 13th, his attorney at the time, he withdrew because he said, quote, an ethical conflict has arisen that precludes further representation. Now, not a whole lot more after that, but what do you think that means? I have my ideas on what I think that means. What do you think that means?
I mean, was he representing someone else in the family?
I don't know.
I don't.
For me, it sounds like a defense attorney that found out the truth and was like, fuck this. I got to find a way to get out of this.
Could be.
I mean, I know that's not right and they shouldn't do it, but I would. Just, I'm going to be honest. There's no way I can, if I found out that he actually did it. I mean, I know everybody deserves a vigorous defense and all that, but me personally, I don't think I could represent somebody if I found out they actually did commit murder against a child.
It's kind of like, don't tell me. I don't need to know.
Right. I need to know everything but that part of the truth so I can defend you. But I don't want to know the actual truth. Yeah. April 14th, he hires his own attorney and she takes over the case on April 25th. Now, his new attorney goes out there and files a cease and desist against Hampton Police Chief Mark Talbot and asking him to do the following: publicly retract the statements he made regarding Bigsby, cease and desist for making a public comment that could obstruct justice or tamper with future jury pool, ask the community not to harass or threaten the Bigsby family, and issue a public apology to the Bigsby family for making statements that put their lives in danger.
Okay.
So, police respond basically with a, I don't know how you say it, fuck off. It's basically what they responded with. I mean, they said, we're not retracting any statements. We haven't done anything to the jury pool. We haven't threatened the family, but if they feel threatened, they should call us. It's basically what they came out and said, which I like. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And Bigsby's attorney files another motion to reconsider bond, and the judge was like, no, there's no change. There's no change in his circumstance. He's good. He's good where he's at. And then a couple days later, on the 25th of May, and this is 2022, police, they're in the middle of a press conference. They're asked about whether or not Cory is still alive. And police say at the time, they said there's no evidence that would show that Cory or that Cody is still alive.
Oh man.
So I mean, that's a tough part of these cases. I mean, it's bad enough that a child is involved, but you don't find any evidence that would give the family any kind of hope that Cody is still alive.
I can't even, like, if it were up to me, we'd have like 1,000 kids. So like, I mean, I can't imagine being mean to this poor thing.
The only thing we'd have more of as kids is dogs. If I just let you do what you wanted and just go crazy.
Oh my gosh, I just can't. Like, little kids are so precious. I can't even imagine hurting a child. Like, this child doesn't even know how to read yet.
Right.
I mean, I can't even.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember our son being that age, and it was like constantly like sitting in your lap and loving on you and reading stories, and to think that you could hurt them.
Yeah, no, that part I don't understand how you can hurt a child. However, what did they call it? We watched that show, The Irrational. I think he called it what, euphoric recollection, where you have memories that are only good. You don't remember what kind of terror he was from age 2 until like 6 months ago. At 14, you don't remember those, do you? You just remember the sweet, cute, cuddly kid.
He was so sweet.
In fairness, though, you were working and I was staying home with them, so maybe that's the reason we have slightly different memories of. But he was cute at times. So cute. But still, at no point did I really, obviously every parent's like, I'm going to beat you, but never once was that a real consideration. So yeah, I mean, I get
even when he was acting a fool, that was never.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Not to this level. I did want to, like, wooden spoon him sometimes. Didn't do that either. Didn't do that either. But but no. So on June 7th, bond is denied again. June 15th, it's like this attorney just won't give up. June 15th, bond is denied for a 5th time, and a trial date is set. Like, I get trying to go back and get bail bond for your client, but like June 7th, a week later,
let the dream die.
Right? Like at this point, it's just getting annoying for the judge.
Yeah,
I would think, because I mean, May 23rd, denied for a 3rd time. May 25th is the evidence that he's not alive. June 7th, bond is denied. June 15th, bond is denied. Like every week, they're just asking for bond again. I don't know. I would just think that the judge would eventually be like, just stop coming to my courtroom.
Right. I don't know. I wonder if they can do that. Like, legally, can they not like disallow you?
I'm sure not. I'm sure you have. It's just,
do you really? I'm still not giving you bail.
Yeah. Nope. Do you really want to piss off the judge that's going to be presiding over the murder trial of your client? Like, I just don't know if that's a good tactic to take. But what do I know? On July 5th, a grand jury indicts Bigsby, not on murder yet, on 30 total counts of child neglect and abuse.
Wow.
Not related to Cody's disappearance. And this is all stuff before that.
That tells me that if they're charging him with that instead of any kind of, crime with his disappearance, it's a example of it's not what you know, it's what you can prove. So to me, they're not charging him with murder because they can't prove it, but it sounds like they feel like they have enough proof for neglect. Where are they getting all this information?
That's a good question. But this is all before they even get to Cody. This is all previous stuff, because the indictment included 15 charges of child neglect for leaving the children at home, 4 charges for alleged child abuse, and then 2 additional charges in neglect in connection with failure to secure attention for an injured child. So, I mean, it's like he's got every piece of child abuse you could possibly have.
Yeah.
I mean, 30 counts, 28 of them felonies, and then 2 are misdemeanors. So, I mean, that you're looking at a long ass time in prison regardless.
Yeah.
So he's been indicted on those counts of child neglect, child abuse. And then a couple weeks later, on the 15th of July, Cory's family holds a press conference offering a $25,000 reward for information that can help locate Cody or lead to an arrest.
Gotcha. So not for him, but for the child. Okay.
Yeah, but lead to an arrest. The arrest has already been made.
Right.
So, I mean, but the family doesn't believe that Cory did this at all.
Really?
So they're behind him 100%. So this is legit. The family saying, "Hey, we are offering $25,000 if you can find out who really did this. Not Cory, because Cory didn't do it, but somebody else."
Mhm.
Basically, what they're saying. And then we fast forward a little bit to February of 2023, and it's determined that he is not competent to stand trial. So
All of a sudden?
he's sent to Eastern State Hospital for competency restoration services. I like how that's written. Alex said that's what they sent him there for. So the doctors there said that he understood the legal process, but not the seriousness of the charges against him. And maybe you can give me a little education on this, but for me, it just seems like, I don't know. How do you pick and choose which one? You understand the legal process, but you don't understand, all those charges against you. I don't get that. It feels just like he wants to.
You either understand them or you don't.
Right.
You
Because the other thing is during that time, he discussed a hypothetical plea bargain with the staff of the hospital. In other words, I'm going to discuss this hypothetically with you, and what do you think will happen if I actually say this to people who can maybe make a deal with me?
He knows exactly what he did.
Right.
And
he knows exactly.
Yeah.
May 30th, the hospital says, "Nah, he's good. He's good. He can stand trial. Let's do this." And then a few days later, on June 5th, he's indicted for the murder of his son, Cory.
Good.
Now, listen to this. June 21st, and this blows I just don't understand our legal system at all.
Oh, gosh.
June 21st, $80,000 bond. Cory is released. So,
what?
Right.
What?
So 30 charges of child abuse, denied bond 5 times. Charged with murder of a child, 80,000. I mean, 80,000 is not even a lot. When you think about it,
was it the same judge?
Yeah.
I wonder if it's, I don't agree with this whatsoever, but I wonder if they're seeing it as, because their whole argument about them being out is so they have the opportunity to participate in their defense. So I wonder if they were weighing, the judge felt like, okay, well, we're weighing him being able to participate against the safety of, the other children. So we're going to keep him in here. But when it comes to a murder charge, like, he really does need to be able to participate. So I think it's crap.
The judge did say that everybody's entitled to bond. He also said, the judge also said that he's not a flight risk, which, I mean, maybe he's not. I mean, if you don't have the means to really run, and he has to obviously wear an ankle monitor. He can only leave the house for like doctor's appointments and court appearances and meeting with his attorneys. He can't have contact with any other children that are his, but so I guess since she's older, he's going to be living with his oldest daughter in Norfolk, which is about a half an hour away from Hampton.
Okay.
And his uncle says, "I'll watch him, and I promise he's going to be a good boy."
Oh, geez.
Again, paraphrasing that as well, of course.
Yeah.
And this is when it starts to get a little like interesting, and jail officials say he said he was coerced, so it's a whole thing. But in November of this year, there is a hearing to try and suppress some of the evidence against Bigsby. The prosecution brought several officers from the jail to testify in the hearing. One officer said that Bigsby told him that he stepped out of his apartment to get something from his car, and when he returned, he found Cody at the bottom of the stairs unresponsive from, I guess, what he was claiming, a fall down the stairs. He said that he tried CPR several times, and when that didn't work, he stepped outside and prayed. And I'm just trying to figure out at what point did he call 911, because he didn't. But
Right.
So that was the first one. The second officer said that on August 3rd of 2022, Bigsby shouted out to him and said, "Hey, I got something to say." And he wrote down a statement that Bigsby told him. So the officer was dictating what Bigsby was saying. And he just said, "I found my son unresponsive, tried CPR. I couldn't revive him." Okay, so it's kind of similar to the first story. And then he was saying that, sorry, I'm trying to keep straight what all this stuff is. He said that he realized after he talked to God that Cody wasn't coming back. So he called 911, right? No, he didn't, because he put his son in a trash bag and then put him in the trunk of his car for 3 days. Like, how do you
What?
right? Like, how do you get to my son? I found him unresponsive. I tried CPR. You skip the step at 911. You just don't even do that at all. You just put him in a trash bag and then put him in your car.
Jeez.
And then he said after those 3 days, he drove him to Garrett A. Morgan Boulevard, which that's just the area that he was in. And he said he buried him. Yeah. A third officer kind of had the same story about Bigsby, found him unresponsive, tried CPR, and it didn't work. But it wasn't the exact same story every time, but it was that basic, found him unresponsive, tried CPR, but then still never called 911, never sought medical attention for his son, nothing, did nothing. Yeah.
You're like, you know what? Just put him in the car. It's
Right.
fine.
Right.
What
Yeah.
the hell?
Right. So these were all statements that he made to officers. Well, then they found a letter in his cell, and it said, "On June 18th, 2021, I, Cory Bigsby, walked into the room and grabbed Cody and dragged him into the kitchen." Now,
Oh gosh.
I'm reading what he wrote, so if the grammar's not correct, that's why. He said, "I thumped Cody's head on the floor and beat him with my fists, and he went into cardiac arrest."
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And then after CPR didn't work, he carried Cody upstairs and put him into the bathtub to, quote, "see if he would respond." I
Jesus.
guess maybe to cold water. I don't know what he thought he was going to respond to.
I'm guessing he thought maybe he was unconscious and the cold water would wake him up.
Maybe.
Jeez.
He went on to say that after the CPR didn't work, after he didn't respond, he said he did not. So I held him and prayed to God that he would bring my baby back. Then I took him in the room and laid him on the bed.
What he means is, I beg God, please don't let him die because then I'm going to prison.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So then after that, the letter goes on to say that he got a flashlight and charged it and bought gas and snacks at the gas station. I assume that's so he was going to transport Cody from the apartment to where he buried him. I don't know why you grab snacks. I don't know. It just, for me, it just kind of shows how callous he is.
Yeah. It's like you're not even upset enough that you're like, oh, I'm too upset to eat. Your thought process is, I need to stop for snacks. I'm kind of hungry.
And that's but this is where it gets weird, because you would think that with the whole thing being he found him unresponsive, put him in the trash bag, put him in the car, and then took him to the site. But in this letter, he's talking about how after he got the flashlight and charged it, he went to an empty car wash, and that's where he put Cody in the bag, and then drove home, and then put his son in his refrigerator.
Oh my gosh. Ay.
Yeah. So it's just getting worse and worse at this time.
Guy.
And I don't know how long he kept Cory in the refrigerator, but Cory was the youngest. Can you imagine his older brother opening up the refrigerator and then is there just trash bag in there of his brother?
And the older kid had to know something was going on.
Yeah.
I mean,
where's my brother?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you know how siblings are when they're that age. They're running around with each other. Where's he at? Where's he at? Where's he at?
Absolutely. Yeah. So after a few days, he went on to say that he put Cody back into the car and drove behind a building, dug a hole by a tree, and buried him. And then he went home and asked for forgiveness from God, which I don't feel like he gave. Maybe. I don't know.
I'm sure that's exactly what he did. He went home and prayed because he's so
Right.
godly.
Well, it gets this guy.
Oh,
He obviously dumped his clothes and burned them, but the day after he buried Cody, he went back to dig him up and burn him to cover up the scars from the beatings.
oh my word. What the hell?
It just gets worse and worse.
How do you do that to your child? I mean, like, you look at your child and you keep desecrating their body. How do you do that? That is disgusting.
Yeah. And then he said that after he did that to Cory's body, he then, and this is what it says in the letter, then I went home and took a bath with, and it has the name of the other child. Like, what?
What?
Not went home and took a bath and then hung out with my other kid. Not went home and gave my other kid a bath. He said, I went home and took a bath with his other child.
That does not sound right at all.
No, it doesn't.
There's so many things wrong with that.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, of course, he ended the letter with, please accept my confession. Yeah, okay, we'll accept it. We don't understand it, but they got no problem. So even though the statements provided like an area of where he said that he buried Cody has never been found. They still haven't found the child's body. They're still continuing to look. There's some things that have been set up to look for him, but they still haven't found him. And for me, like, I'm always thinking like, and maybe I give people a little bit too much credit for being a lot more intelligent than what they really are, but I would see that as, I'm going to tell you what happened. I mean, obviously they're fighting because this is during a motion to suppress. They're fighting to say all that stuff's not true or whatever. But for me, it's almost like if I don't tell you where my child is at, I can use that as a bargaining chip later. Yeah, it really, it's just like, it's just disgusting all the way around. But I may be giving him more credit than what he's due when it comes to intelligence. I don't know.
Well, the other thing I would think too is, so him talking about going home and taking a bath with his other child is very like red flag to me. So it makes me wonder, like, was he doing something else to this child that he is worried if they find his body, they'll see? I mean, they probably wouldn't after all this time, but he may not know that. So, because why not tell them where he's at? Why not be truthful?
Yeah. And then you take into consideration that he went home and took a bath with his other kid.
Yeah.
Like, what was he doing to those children?
Yeah.
Alleged.
And if he cares so little, why keep them? Why have them? Why get custody of them?
Yeah.
That makes no sense. I mean, there had to be some reason he wanted them there, and it wasn't because he loved them.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Gosh, what a disgusting human.
It really, allegedly.
Allegedly.
So now, Bigsby's attorneys, they were arguing during this motion to suppress that he only did that because the guards at the jail said, if you give us this confession, if you write down all this stuff, we'll let you, hang out with your family on, later. So, but here's what's weird is a couple days later, the jail did arrange for a family visit for Bigsby. Yeah. So they ordered food from his favorite restaurant, which is Hardee's. And honestly, I think he should get life without parole for Hardee's being his favorite restaurant.
Yeah, no kidding, right? God,
it's disgusting to begin with. But however, the prosecution countered with the jail officials were concerned about Cory because he wasn't eating, and they were concerned about his mental health. So the superintendent, Lieutenant Colonel William Anderson, said that he finds that people's mood improves if they can eat what they love to eat and if they can be in the company of people that they love.
I mean, that's actually pretty smart. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, and it could be true. And I mean, I would lean more towards, that being the case, because I would like to think that after the police chief came out and said, look, we ignored that whole attorney thing, I would think at that point from there through the trial, everything would be perfect, by the book, everything done correctly. So,
and if you're being forced to write a confession, wouldn't it just be bare bones? Like,
right?
I
right?
confess that I did get angry and lost my temper and hit him.
Hmm.
Went and buried the body. Like, why would it be? I put him in the fridge for these many days. I stopped and got snacks on the way. I came home and took a bath with my other child. Like, what is that
Yeah,
information even in there for if not true?
yeah,
That's ridiculous.
it really is. Yeah. And of course, when asked on the stand if there was any type of agreement to get him to provide the confession, obviously Lieutenant Colonel Anderson was like, no, absolutely not. So, with all that, the judge denied the motion to suppress. And also during that hearing, he said that Bigsby's 6-year-old son could testify. Now,
Oh,
we'll get to the interesting part of that in a second,
yeah.
but the judge did say the kid's not coming in the courtroom. We are
Thank
not
God.
going to make
Yeah.
him do that. We are going to allow him to testify via camera.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah. But what's that kid going to say?
I mean, wow. I mean, for them to even be willing to put him through that tells me he knows something.
Got
I
to.
mean, because
Got to.
otherwise, you wouldn't take the risk of putting a child that small on the stand.
No, there's no way you would.
And
Not for a
knowing the
second.
damage and trauma it's going to do. Like, he's already lost his sibling. He's already been through God knows what living in that house. And now his dad's gone.
Yeah.
So,
And you have to think, too, that this guy, there's no way this guy thought he was going to get caught because they never do. But this guy never thought he was going to get caught. So I'm sure he wasn't careful around his 6-year-old to make sure they didn't see anything.
yeah.
I mean, I would be shocked if his older brother didn't see, Cody's body in the refrigerator. I mean, even if he didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
So luckily he gets to testify, not in the courtroom. And obviously, if you're a defense attorney and you go after the 6-year-old, you might as well just
Oh,
put your put your client in prison yourself because
yeah.
that's where he's going. So that the murder trial's been set for March 4th. It's been pushed back a few times, but March 4th. And what's wild is because like with the Murdaugh trial, it felt like it lasted forever.
Mhm.
And with this one, the judge is like, look, March 4th through the 8th, that's what you get. That's it.
Wow. Oh,
You have, you have,
gosh.
you have 4 days. You have 4 days.
Well, look at the Johns Hopkins and Maya. I mean, that trial, I was like, that trial's still going? Like, when when you said that about the verdict, I was like, they ain't had a verdict? That's still going on?
I think the jury
Whew.
deliberated on that one for like 16 hours, 19 hours, something like that. I mean, I don't know what it was to deliberate about, how much they were going to give her.
Probably had to write it out and how much they were
Yeah.
gonna give her. Yeah.
Plus, there was like pages after pages after pages on that
Mhm.
form, but $200 million later. But for this case, it's I don't know how, like, you didn't get to suppress all that stuff. So I feel like at this point between now and March, as a defense attorney, I would think you're trying to plea this out because there's no way you're going to hear those statements and you're going to tell a jury
Yeah.
this is what he wrote. Okay, fine. A couple days later, they had a family meal or whatever, but you're not going to get that. I'm not going to
Yeah.
get past that because I mean, his story was consistent through the parts that mattered. Like,
Right.
found his kid unresponsive, didn't get him medical attention, didn't call 911. I mean, the the murder of Cory or Cody happened in June, and he didn't report his son missing until the following January.
Oh my
So, I
god.
mean, even if he didn't provide those confessions, like, bro, you did it. Like, even if it was an accident, you didn't do anything once you found your child unresponsive, other than
And
put him in a trash bag, stuff him in the fridge after leaving him in the car for 3 days, and then burying him.
yeah. Well, and another thing too that I mean, that really breaks your heart to think, like, what could have been happening to those kids because clearly no one else was in their life or
Mhm.
someone else would have noticed between then and January that he was gone.
Yeah.
That's so sad to think that there was no one else in this kid's life to even notice he wasn't there.
Yeah, and I do wonder too, like if Corey's family is who he's staying with his daughter. His uncle said, "Hey, we'll watch him," and they're only a half an hour away. Do they not question where Cody
Right?
had been? And I know I keep messing their names up, and I'm sorry. I don't mean to do that, but I mean it's Cory and Cody, so it's kind of throwing me off. But
Yeah,
like
yeah,
they at no point during those 6-7 months were like, "Hey, Cory, where's Cody?"
yeah.
Not once, not
It
one
is
time.
weird.
I get it if he was in Virginia and his family was in Arizona. I mean, you can
Yeah,
obviously you can hide that for a while, but
yeah,
you're half an hour away. So what story is he telling his family as to why he didn't say anything
yeah.
about Cody missing for that long?
Especially that another child of his would be like, "Yeah, you can stay with me."
Mhm.
I mean, really? This adds up for you? I mean, it makes you wonder if he was abusive to that child.
Yeah. I mean, I understand standing behind your family and wanting to give them the benefit of the doubt, but like when the facts of this case are laid out in front of you, I don't know how anybody's just like, oh yeah, he's not guilty. I mean, I know he didn't call anybody for like 6 months, but it's all good. I don't know how you back him when it comes to that. So, but there's more to the story, I'm sure. But going through the last few days with this stuff, there's so much, especially when the confessions, because you've got this officer heard this officer heard that, this officer heard that, and then they found a note in his cell and it said all this. It's just there's a lot going on there, and
Yeah.
none of it's good. None of it's good at all.
No. And I mean, the loss of such a small child, that is
Mhm.
heartbreaking.
It really is. It really is. I don't know. I don't get it.
And I
I don't.
mean, we know it's very hard to get a judge to take kids away from their mom. So if he had them, how bad is the mom?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to look into that a little bit more because there was
Yeah.
nothing that said
Yeah,
anything
because maybe
about
she's
the. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
maybe she couldn't
yeah,
have them or she's
yeah.
passed away or something like that, I guess, because we don't know.
But
But
everything that I saw didn't mention mom at all. So
yeah,
either maybe something happened to her, there's something else going on. I will look into that a little bit more because I mean, I'm going to cover this and follow it when he goes to trial and everything. But so
yeah,
I'll look into that. So I'm not sure, but nothing I read said anything about their family situation with the mom
yeah,
and him. So she may not be in the picture. Something may have happened to her or anything like that. But I'm going to look into it. I don't know. I don't know how this stuff happens. I don't know because also like some of the things because I'm trying to think like okay if he's a first time dad maybe he snapped. It's never an excuse to do what he did. But I understand parents getting at their wits end they can't
yeah.
handle it anymore or whatever. But I mean he has a daughter old enough for him to move in with.
Right.
Like he has other kids. Like he
Yeah.
knows how this goes. So it's like you know what it's like, bro. Like you know that your kids are screaming, crying, whatever they're doing when they're infants and into toddlers.
Yeah.
And I get it. Like there were times when I just had to walk out of the house. I'm just like, I didn't leave. But I was just like, look, kids, he's safe. I gotta go outside and get a minute. Like I need a minute.
Yeah, I
But
mean, kids are a lot,
yeah, yeah,
especially
they
when you
are.
have more than one
Yeah.
that small.
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
tough.
we had a 3-year-old and a 22-month-old running around. That's a lot.
Mhm.
That's a
Yeah.
lot. Wide ass
Yeah.
open
Oh
every
gosh.
day.
Oh
Every
my
day.
gosh. Did
The most
not
I
slow
did,
down
yeah,
ever.
yeah. Most I did was walked outside for, a minute.
Yeah.
I was just like, all right, get yourself together, pull it
I mean, we
together.
didn't even
And then,
spank. Like, we weren't even, like,
no,
popping
no,
bottoms or anything.
mm-mm, no.
Oh,
And we live
man.
in a state where that's still legal. So,
Right?
yeah,
Right?
we didn't even do that. So
Gosh.
I don't know how you ever get to that.
It
Mm,
makes you wonder, though, if that could be where mom was. I wonder if he was so abusive, mom finally got out and she saved herself but couldn't take the kids with her.
yeah, maybe I don't know.
Was afraid
Like I
he
said,
would hurt them worse if she tried to take them. I mean, so, yeah, I guess I don't pass judgment on her without knowing anything.
yeah, yeah. So I'll look into that a little bit more. But all the other stuff, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how you defend it. Like
Yeah.
what kind of defense are you going to have to where unless they try and go with the he lost his temper and he hit him and then he continued to hit him and he couldn't, whatever. So he just ended up, killing him and maybe they're going to go for like manslaughter.
Yeah. I don't know how you could defend anything at all for this guy, but I mean, I do believe in the justice system, though. So, I mean, I do think everybody deserves a defense because, one, if you don't have a good lawyer, you got to worry about an appeal.
Hmm.
But also, it only works if it works for everybody. So, but
Yep.
it would be hard to defend this piece of crap.
Mm-hmm. The only thing I could think is they're going to try and have it where it's not murder.
Yeah.
They're going to argue something else, but I don't know.
Yeah. Or
But that is
stick with that ridiculous story of, oh no, it came out and he is dead.
Yeah. I just didn't tell anybody for like 6 months.
I don't know why I said it like a hillbilly, like this guy's like in the country or something. I don't know why I did that.
He's in Virginia.
Yeah.
In
So,
Norfolk.
my bad.
Not West Virginia. He's in the East Virginia.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Like I said, that's everything for this so far. When I say this is everything, like I'm kind of scared if there is more.
Yeah.
Like what is there that's more
Mm-hmm.
that he may have done. So, but I'm gonna continue to follow this, and I'm be interested to see what happens in March if it even makes it.
Surely not. Hopefully not, because I don't want that sibling having to get up and testify. I mean, I know it's in camera, but even that's going to be traumatic for this kid.
Yeah. Hey, we want you to relive what your dad did to your brother.
Mm-hmm. And tell us all about it. And it doesn't matter how much he abused or neglected that child. That child's still going to have some kind of guilt over saying anything against his dad, no matter what.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So now you're putting that on him.
And the trauma may not manifest itself until later in life for this kid.
We know that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That happens to a lot of people.
Yeah. So hopefully there's a lot of therapy in this future too.
Yeah.
That's everything for the story on Cory Bigsby. We'll continue to follow and provide any updates that we may have. So appreciate you guys listening. Before you take off, make sure you subscribe, hit the like button, all that stuff. And if you're listening on our podcast, you go out there and throw us a rating out there. We like having those things, say we're doing pretty good. We've got some good comments and some funny comments. So, add to it. But
yeah.
Anyway, we'll be back with another story real soon, guys.